Gonna add you to the call or to the overlay because things are all moved around last week. So people get the inside baseball.
It's okay.
That actually took 2 seconds.
I figured.
Okay, so actually all I need is bam, logo. Bam, hosts. Awesome.
We're good.
We're existing.
You can move me down a little bit, I think, because you can see my Discord bar, like when I talk.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Cool.
We did it. We did it, fam.
Yeah.
Job's done. End stream.
There we go.
Have you tweeted? What did I do with my phone? Ridiculous hat had a button to push. Thank you very much for the continued support, my friend.
Of course.
Hey, Kieran, how's it going?
Yes, I have tweeted.
I love that. We're live right on time at 5 p.m. Tweet sent 5:21.
There is no way to prove that.
Yeah, no one timestamps anything anymore. Don't be ridiculous, hat.
Ah! That's some good banter right there.
I've been feeling really not well today, guys, as you can probably tell.
We're both definitely like we're on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
Going straight to Struggle Town. Curran, thank you for being here, for being so patient. I saw you. I seen you. I want to recognize and validate your punctuality, even though we were not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any thoughts, questions, or are you good to start?
Whenever you are ready.
Okay. Energy levels so high today. It's awesome. All right.
I think it'll be fine in the show, but the amount of tolerance for anything outside of channeling the energy into the show is just like, it's just not there.
Oh, I get it. And Tito, I do want to say on the record, I said I don't want to overload you to Hat when he proposed moving it to 5 o'clock today. I'm like, I know what your Thursdays look like. This is going to be too much. So just so we're clear, this was all him, not me.
It's moving around 2 hours does not change the total burden. It is lateral. And the issues with feeling overloaded with total burden are far beyond your control. So do not take any responsibility for them. This is fine. I got to sleep in today. I didn't have to do anything yesterday. It was all right.
Good. Excellent. All right, then. Let me throw the logo up and let me remember to open Audacity to do my local recording.
Seems important. Manny, really I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, Manny. I see you.
He just doesn't understand why things are happening not at midnight for me.
This is Canadian time. It's Canadian 5 o'clock. Their time zone is 22 minutes before ours here in the States.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's get this thing going. Episode 492 of The Angry Chicken records in 3, 2, 1. Every episode of The Angry Chicken is made possible by our amazing patrons over at patreon.com/tag. For more of Jocelyn's content, check out jossplays.com. And if you can't get enough of Ridiculous Hat, follow him over on Twitter at Ridiculous Hat. The Angry Chicken is a production of A Move TV.
Time's up. Let's do this. Legendary. You face Jiraiya. Noxus! You smell like a leper gnome! I knew it! A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Angry Chicken. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and joined, as always, by my co-host, Ridiculous Hat. And just, Hat, before you say hi, I don't want to forget this. Hearing Brode's voice in the intro, it was so good to see them win Mobile Game of the Year for Snap. I promise I won't talk any more Snap through the rest of The Angry Chicken. I just wanted to say, Brode, winning awards, games, heart.
Did you see his suit?
Oh, man, he's so wonderful.
He's so it's his brand is extremely consistent, and yeah, well deserved. I mean, that whole team, like, they have done a lot of really good work. It's on my list for the Gamers In for my top 11 games because I don't follow rules. Its favorite card game that was not Hearthstone was Marvel Snap.
Yeah, they had a really excellent year, and I think it's a really fun game. So I was really glad to see them kind of be recognized and everything else. So that's enough about Snap, because we do have a ton to talk about Hearthstone. But before we get into that, did want to say thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. You too can become a TAC patron by going over to that site. Becoming a patron gives you access to our TAC Discord server. So again, if you would like to support me, if you'd like to support Hat, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. That brings us to this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
I didn't even know this was happening, but Winterveil is back. I just logged in one day, and then all of a sudden the store had a little like exclamation mark, because for some reason my like stuff happens in my game before the pop-ups when I open my game. So it was like I went into my store and it was like, hey, have 10 free packs, and I was like, yes, please. And then the next time I logged in, it was like, Winterveil was here, claim your packs. And I was like, I already did that, but also thanks for the reminder. So yeah, Winterveil is here, and there's free packs in the store for everyone.
Yep, and they put an article up about it that you have to go into the store and claim the packs. Also, none of them are Lich King packs. There are 6 sets in Standard. It's the other 5, because they want you to buy the new packs, but they'll give you a couple of the old ones. It's specifically a couple of all 5 sets. Just, you know.
I mean, it's 10
nice.
free packs. If nothing else is free dust. So, I mean, and it's free. So, thank you.
You should go get the free stuff. Yes. Thank you, Blizzard, for the free stuff. I like the free stuff. Thank you for that.
More free stuff, please. Like Battle Bash freebie hammers. Those are free too. At least the first one.
Yes. That's how they get you. But
that is how they get you. Oh my God. I swung my free hammer and I was like, well, that was the worst option. Guess I'm buying this now.
It is the same $10 price, $10 US for you need 7 top 4s in the 3 weeks that this is around. Because you get a freebie. When you buy it, they give you 2 more, and then you got to play a bunch of Battlegrounds. I mean, like, you don't have to, you get to, but you have to. And then you get the various rewards, and there's a bunch of cool stuff in here. I think if you are a person that likes cosmetics and likes Battlegrounds, which, I mean, you kind of have to like those things to buy a Battlegrounds cosmetic bundle. If you find the cosmetics valuable, this is a good deal any way you slice it. Just because the amount of stuff they give you, it's kind of like I think this is actually appropriate for Winterveil, because this is totally an advent calendar sort of thing.
It kind of is.
Like,
yeah.
if you top four, like every so often, because it gets hard. The last one, I definitely played a ton of BGs the last couple days of them, because otherwise I was going to miss it because I kept getting 5ths. It was really unpleasant. But I got there. But it's $10 for like a bartender and a legendary board and a bunch of other stuff. If you get it all, it's worth more than $10 in individual things you'd buy from the store. So you just have to want a bunch of cosmetics.
And I mean, like, I am a sucker for anything that's like holiday, snow, Christmas themed in any, like, so Winterveil is WoW's Christmas holiday. And yeah, like there's so many games that do holiday things now, and Christmas is a big one of them. So I'm such a sucker for everything around Christmas. Is just so bright and sparkly and covered in snow, which makes me want to be all warm and cozy, and it just like it's happy feelings. So when I get cosmetics that reflect that, I just love it. So yeah, I definitely went in on the Battle Bash too, even though I am playing a ton of standard right now, just because I was like, I can't let this go and not purchase it. So you got me, Blizzard. GG. But yeah, we also got some Tavern Brawls there. I don't think there's anything new this year. They're all repeats from previous years.
I think so. They like so there's the present one. I know we've had many times, and it's kind of a nice tradition. The gift exchanges every year. They've done the gift exchange for as long as I can remember Tavern Brawls being around. Wacky Waxy. Yeah, we've definitely had this before. I can't remember how long we've had this one. I feel like it is slightly less, but still, it's been multiple years, right?
Yeah. And then, so in addition to the Tavern Brawls, we're also getting an event. So remember, because I didn't remember, the events are the new flashy thing where, so right now we are currently in the March of the Lich King event. So it's when you look at your journal, it's got like that fancy wax stamp on it. So that event, the Lich King event, will end on the 21st of December. And at that time, we're going to get the Winterveil event that's going to replace that. So there's like a little mini battle pass there with like 5 things you can earn. And then there's some daily quests in there. So don't forget to, first of all, finish off your Lich King before this time next week. And then also get in there for your Winterveil rewards. So I'm almost done my Lich King events, but I've been re-rolling all my DK quests because we're probably going to talk about it later on, but I haven't been playing very much DK. So I've been re-rolling my quest to get it the like play 2 games kind of thing in order to finish off that event. But yeah, we're getting a new event on the 21st.
Yeah, it's the Lich King call. Does it end the 20th or the 21st? I don't know.
I think that mine said like 4 days left, maybe. That's not enough days. 6 days left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 days left is the 20th. Yeah. 6 days left.
Okay. No, because if I recall, they usually, like, there's a down day between the two, usually.
Have we had back-to-back events yet? I thought the Halloween one ended way before we got the Lich King one.
Yeah. I don't think we've had I mean, the event system has been in place for like 2 patches.
I was gonna say like 2 events.
we got it for the pre-patch for this expansion, right?
Right.
And had 1 event, and then didn't, and then had this event. Yeah, this is the 3rd event ever. So So
we don't really know what the rules are.
It's just finish it by Monday if you want to get everything Lich King event. I will say the events, I have done maybe half of the quests in them. They're pretty easy to finish if you log in every day.
Yeah, like I've noticed that too. Even happens. By ignoring DK related quests, because you get currency for playing everything. So like even like Battlegrounds was giving me currency. My regular Hearthstone games on ladder were giving me currency. So like you get it for just kind of showing up and interacting with the game as you should. So yeah, I think that, and I say currency, it's little blue event gems. Like they're not, they're kind of the same as XP on the other ones, but I get they're very quickly running out of like icons and words for the stuff that you earn in game.
It should just be a little scroll. Like it's because it's just experience is all it is. These are just fancy legendary quests, but I like the system. They're easier to finish, and I know what I'm getting, and the menu looks nice.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job, kind of bringing events into the game, and I like what they've done there. So new Winterveil one coming. Like Hat said, there's a blog post where you guys can go and see what the rewards are going to be. It's a couple of packs. It's a couple of heroes. And yeah, they're of course Winterveil-y themed. We also got a couple of nerfs. Came in patch 25.0.3. It was a data-only patch, so nothing to download, right?
Well, you
Or
download
wait, you
when you open the
I
app.
always get it confused.
So data-only patches, you don't have to go to the App Store, Play Store. You just open the app, and stuff happens, and you have to download some stuff. It'll sometimes give you a really big number, but that's just the number that of files it has to check, and it'll download really fast. This was a really surprising patch because it was 3 days after the expansion launched, and they nerfed a couple cards, and that isn't normal.
Yeah, Big Daddy D got the Nerf bat, so which I think is kind of good because we were basically in Sire Stone still in the first couple of days of the expansion, so I was happy to see this happen. So Sire Denathrius will still has the same cost, will still infuse endlessly, but it's infuse 2 instead of infuse 1. So basically doubling the amount of things that have to die in order to power him up. So he's not going to be quite as powerful as he was.
Yeah, I actually wasn't seeing a ton of him, but you looked at the stats and you talked to a lot of people, like there was enough that they probably had this preloaded and were just like, if Denathrius play rate does not drop by a lot, then we're gonna make it drop by a lot, or at least make it worse, even if people keep playing it, so that the story of this expansion isn't the card from last one.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the conversation this episode is going to be based around the disparate perception from different people in different parts of ladder, because I can't remember a time that was so stratified. The game the high legend people are playing right now versus what a lot of people are experiencing personally could not be more different. And you see and hear the gap in understanding and perception and experience in any social media conversation. Denathrius was still in over 40% of decks after the expansion launched. Can't have that.
Yeah,
there are other
too
cards.
many.
There were two other 3-mana neutral legendaries that were more popular that have not been nerfed, that I'm sure we will talk about today.
Yes.
Multiple times. But Denathrius was a really notable way for games to end, and he happened to play really well with all of the DK decks, and you really don't want your brand new class being associated with a legendary win con from the previous expansion that people had already gotten tired of.
Yeah, absolutely. The other change came to Hunter with Shockspitter, went up from 2 to 3 mana. I mean, I think this was the right call, but I was also shocked to see it happen so quickly.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost made me spit out my drink.
Wait, it's
audio listeners,
Splitter,
I wasn't really
isn't it?
drinking
Spitter?
anything. No, it's Spitter.
It is
It
Spitter.
spits the shock.
Oh. My
Yes.
notes are wrong.
No, they aren't. I fixed it. So and Hunter players have some feelings about this. Depends on who you talk to about how reasonable they feel like this was or wasn't. I will say the arcane stuff hasn't landed as well. And I will say Hunter has received a lot of nerfs this year. I will also note from a non-Hunter main perspective, the reason Hunter got a lot of nerfs because Hunter was the best class in multiple sets and metas, and they have to kind of nerf that. They can't just leave it busted. And maybe the arcane stuff gets a little better someday at some point.
I would really like to see Arcane get better because I felt like I saw people messing around with it day one, and then they kind of discovered this multiple spitter deck thing that was happening, and they were able to go like super ultra mega hunter face. And we've talked before how I wish that there was like a hunter deck that could be really on top that wasn't just going for my face all the time. And it feels like they still haven't found that happy place for Hunter. And I know it's really driven by the hero power of the class. Like it just lends itself to going face because it can't go anywhere else. So I mean, like, I get it that designing the class around that is difficult because, like, they have a constant face tool. So then anything else that you give them has to take that into consideration. So I can understand it's probably a difficult design space to work in, but like, I just feel like everything that's ever super duper popular and on top and really powerful is ultra aggressive. And yeah, so this is now changed. You can't get spat at 100 times anymore. Well, you can.
Good.
You can. It's only one mana.
Okay.
But
you can't brand spitter on 7. And can I say good? We don't want that. I'm gonna push back on you a little bit, Joss. The best hunter decks this year have been playing a lot of Mountain Bears. Mountain Bear is not the card I think of when I think of face.
No,
it costs
true.
7. So there have been good face hunter decks.
Does it actually cost 7 though?
That's okay. Harpoon Gun made that card feel like a face card because Harpoon Gun into Mountain Bear going first on 4 was obviously a little excessive. They nerfed it. They figured out eventually. They toned down the Wild Seeds a couple times. The facey one they had to tone down. The taunty one they nudged a little bit. The rushy one was fine. Just the facey stag that would have was just maybe a little too good. So yeah, I understand.
But I feel I guess so how I'm going to push back on your pushback is like the situations that you described that were like the face oriented stag wild seed random results, and then also the like bear out on 4 that kind of made what were supposed to be mid-range or slower cards into more aggressive cards. That's when the deck was powerful and on top, and then they made those nerfs, and then whew, there it goes. So like I feel like maybe both points are valid.
Well, yeah, and funny story, the play rate dropped. The last week of Nathria, the number 1 deck on HSR was Beast Hunter.
No way.
People just weren't playing it. It was good.
Well, I mean, was anyone playing Standard at that point, though? I feel like everyone just kind of went...
people
waiting for DKs.
It was a low engagement period, but Beast Hunter was still good after the Wild Seed and Harpoon Gun nerfs. It just, people have been playing it since Voyage, and they're like, all right, we'll try something else now. There's some Frozen Throne cards in Standard, we'll just do some other stuff. It was still totally workable. I have played Renathal, Shockspitter, Hunter this week, and it's still fine. It's still okay. It just, you no longer candle shot on 1 lethal on 6, and I'm going to say that's cool.
We don't have
to do that. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, those were the 2 nerfs that we saw in 25.0.3. You can also now, if you haven't been playing, if you don't own Denathrius, you will get him out of your first Castle Nathria pack that you open. So you also get Renathal in that pack as well. It already gets awarded that way anyway. So if for some reason if Lich King is your first Hearthstone expansion in a while and you don't have Denathrius, just go open a castle pack from your free holiday packs. There you go. Free Denathrius.
Yep. It works this way as well with Voyage and Okani. It's all the freebies while they're in Standard. If you go into the collection screen and you own a pack of that expansion, then it will just pop.
Perfect. Corpse Explosion and Gruntled Patron was banned. Wasn't this Gruntled and original Patron? Grim yes. Patron. Over on the wild side. Yeah, they were banned.
Did you see this combo? Did you do this or see it?
I didn't, but I can imagine it.
So, listeners, for those of you unaware, this got tweeted at me like last week right after the show. And someone asked me, is this healthy? And I'm like, oh, well, this is duels, right? And they were like, no, this is standard. It's like, oh shit.
Then no.
So, Gruntled Patron. I understand if people forget this card. It's from Barons. It is a 4-mana 3/3 neutral frenzy. Summon another Gruntled Patron. Corpse Explosion, 5-mana spell. Deal 1 damage, or detonate a corpse to spend a corpse to deal 1 damage to all minions. If a minion is still in play, repeat this. So what you would do, you would be a DK, a blood DK. On turn 9, you would have 3 corpses, and you would play Gruntled Patron and Corpse Explosion. Gruntled Patron would immediately spawn one more Gruntled Patron, go to a 3-2 with 2 corpses. Immediately spawn another one, go to a 3-1 with 2 Gruntled Patrons in play, a 3-2 and a 3-3, and 1 corpse. The Gruntled Patron would die. You would have 3 more in play at 1, 2, and 3 health, and then you would gain a corpse from the patron dying. And this would go infinitely until the game hit its hard software cap of 50 procs, which means you would deal 50 damage one at a time to everything in play. You would keep your corpse count the same, and your Denathrius would infuse 50 times.
Well,
and
now at least it's only 25 times.
And also, it no longer works. They fixed it.
Yeah.
But this was immediately before the patch. So I queued up one game of this to see what happens. The animations take 4.5 minutes, I think. Just forever just sitting there
So is
watching
that
these things
also one
pop
of those one of those times where it makes your opponent miss their turn as well?
I don't think that happens anymore, but I wouldn't want to be the person facing it, and I wouldn't want to walk away from the computer if I was. So, like, I don't know, maybe? So you would end up, turn 9 would be this board clear that you couldn't really get out of. And then turn 10 would be a Denathrius for 56.
Only 56.
Usually it was good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they turned it off. They banned Patron in both Standard and Wild, the 2 patrons, for about like 12 hours. And it actually worked. Like, it showed banned in the collection. And you remember how the last time they disabled cards, you would go to play and it would just say error starting your game.
Mm-hmm.
When you logged in, if any patron was in your deck, they just removed them from the deck.
Oh, good.
They weren't even in the list anymore, so you couldn't queue it up.
Smart. Glad that they found a more elegant solution to that than just your game has broke. More information found.
Like a bug, right? Like, it looked like a bug.
Yeah.
And so they removed them from the list, they put ban, and then 12 hours later they returned them. They had a pretty clever fix. It's temporary, but I think it's pretty clever. The minions now that the patrons summon are risen minions. They don't make corpses. So you don't go infinite anymore.
Which is like good, I guess. Like, so from a mechanics perspective, that's a good solution. From a lore perspective / card text perspective, it's like, but if they're summoning another patron, they didn't raise a patron, they weren't dead. They just opened up the door and said, get in here. So I don't know. Yeah, like, I get that they need to break the interaction, and that was a way to do it, but like, my lore brain is exploding about that a little bit.
It's a temporary fix, right? Like, it's just something they had to do mechanically to make it happen. But also, perhaps more importantly, before this conversation, had you ever heard of the card Gruntled Patron?
I mean, like, when we did card reveals, but like, nobody has ever played it as far as I know.
There has not been a vocal outcry from disgruntled patrons who want to play with this card that now, like, they can't for some legitimate reason. It's the only thing they disabled was a class-specific mechanic, and it was banned for 12 hours, and nobody was playing either card in either format. So I think in the grand scheme of things, overall, good set of solutions, and they still said this is a temporary thing, and that probably means that they have a solution that they want to implement that will take tech.
Yeah.
And that means they're going to spend time on it later, and this is what's going to happen for now.
Yeah, that's fair. Poor Cora. Cora made the decision to try to be super helpful and Cora-like, and tweeted about Bran, and that was a mistake. So her tweet has since been deleted. But basically she posted another tweet that says, I went ahead and deleted the Bran tweet because it seemed like it was hurting more than it was helping. Never intended to bait people. Just want to reassure that we see the Bran conversation and he will 99.9% not be sticking around in core for next year. So I saw her original tweet and I can't even remember what it said now, but all I remember is reading it and going, oh no, that is not one that I want to click replies on.
I believe that that she said Bran has earned a vacation from Standard.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
It's clear that
I think people
it's clear that
started
what she
to
meant
think
was not coming back.
Yeah.
But then she immediately had to make a reply like, "This doesn't mean now.
Early
It
rotation,
means when we rotate core." Yeah.
Yeah, so she kind of opened a can of worms there, I think, and I felt really bad for her. But now we have the clarification that she did mean absolutely 100%. They're looking at Bran, they see the conversation, and he will most likely 0.1% chance that he will still be in core next year. And that's just the she has to put that there instead of 100% because it's not an official announcement, right? So it's good that the devs are listening, and it did get me thinking a little bit, like if they rotate Bran out of core, does that mean the whole set of explorers? And it kind of got me thinking about the whole idea of them doing things around artificial restrictions, like all the explorers coming as a set, or even all the dragons, like the OG dragons, things like that. Do they have to stick them all together? Can we still have Reno even though Bran's gone? And I think I would like to see Reno stick around, the explorers that aren't problematic. I think, sure, keep them in Standard. They always, give you a potential fun build around. I don't want to see Reno decks go away. No one's playing Reno decks right now, but you could. So I like having that potential option, especially as we're, getting 3 new sets next year, obviously. You never know what's going to work with Reno or what might support Highlander kind of a deck. So, I mean, I hope that a Bran rotation doesn't also mean an explorer set rotation.
Yeah, it's at least she's not it anymore. Bran, he's too much. Finley and Reno?
Yeah.
I can roll with Finley and Reno.
Yeah.
They're okay.
So I want them to stick around. And then Aleko tweeted, we are potentially getting some more nerfs. So we've already talked about the Denathrius nerf, which was, one of the biggest complaints. And then as well, Shockspitter. But this tweet was about that Denathrius patch, the 25.0.3. He did say it's not a normal balance patch, and Final Design asked for an extra balance window before Worlds. And so it sounds like maybe we're getting other stuff.
Yeah, so the timing here is really particular. A bigger patch is coming in a few weeks. This was posted on the 9th. 3 weeks after the 9th is the 30th of December. Nothing is happening on the 30th of December. It's a Friday during the Christmas week. For those of you unfamiliar with how North America operates between the and the last week of December, nothing happens anywhere ever.
Yeah, it doesn't
Most
really
offices
operate.
are closed. Yeah, most offices are closed. Usually Blizzard is closed the last 2 weeks of the year. So, in that case, this is either going to be no later than Tuesday the 20th, or it's going to be next year. I'm currently banking on next year with the hope that I'm wrong. But if you say a few weeks, people are really reading deep into this because they want a faster patch.
Yeah.
But this is really hard in the QA team, really hard in the live ops team. Shipping a patch right before Christmas, if something goes wrong, you are messing with people's holidays. They don't want to do that. However, last year, the day after Worlds on a Monday, the 21st, they shipped a patch. Not saying it can't happen. They've done it before. They did it last year. We already got one patch. We could get another. The main reason that I would make an argument that this could happen before Christmas is because they don't want Death Knight to suck over the holidays. That's the only reason I can think of to really push it, because otherwise, the format has some powerful, bursty, combo-y stuff going on, but it is not without joy and people are playing it. And the concerns that a lot of the high-level players have, it's at high-level Hearthstone, not at all Hearthstone, because the experiences are really different, as we alluded to. If it wasn't for Death Knight being underperforming, I could easily see this not being urgent. However, Death Knight isn't doing well in Standard. Even though Blood DK is pretty popular, it's the play rate is going down every day, and the class feels a little underwhelming. And Blizzard just spent a lot of money and time enticing players back to the game to try it and pushing this launch, right? Like, so many people got 150 free packs.
Yeah.
Like, please log in and play our game. And then they log in and try the new thing, and the new thing doesn't win games. So I would not be surprised, because of that reason, to see some kind of buff patch, which would probably have to include nerfs, on Tuesday the 20th specifically. But I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't bet on it. And it could easily be after the holidays if the tech doesn't make it.
Well, we shall see. We do still have one more show before the holiday break, so we will be back next week. If there are patch notes to talk about, we will talk about them. We did get a pretty big post, actually, over on the forums, all about signature cards. And the first the first thing, though, that I noticed was, so it was posted by Gnome Sayan, who is a community manager, on behalf of lead features designer Celestalon Chad Nervig, who friend of the show, we love him. And I don't know why
he met B today, by the way.
What?
He met B today. Cora's dog.
I want to meet Cora's dog. Cora's dog is so cute. But yeah, I don't know why it wasn't just posted by Celestalon. I mean, of all of the devs lately, I mean, Cora aside, I feel like he is super vocal. He is all over everyone's Twitter posts and answering everyone's questions. He's usually in our chat. He's just all over the place. And then so to see something like from him but not him was weird to me.
I think community tends to take ownership of blue posts. So like Chad wrote it and then sent it to community, and community reviewed it because they are the ones that have to deal with the replies. So I assume that they vet it.
I'm laughing because so we are watching Mythic Quest right now. I don't know if you guys have watched Mythic Quest, but it's basically like a comedy show about game development, and there's this like sweetest, doesn't even swear, like middle-aged cat lady who is the community manager for their game, and just like whenever they go to talk to her, she's got this like bug-eyed like attitude, and she's just like, oh my god, the things I've seen, and it's hilarious. And that just reminded me, dealing with the replies reminded me so much of her, because like they tried to put NFTs in the game and she was like, no. And that's like I just feel like must have been the response to signature cards, because like people have capital F feelings about these things. I read the replies.
Scrolled through the comments.
I scrolled through the comments because I wanted to see, like, because I mean, I didn't have the best reaction to signature cards. They're not my favorite thing. I think that there's like some things about them that I would change if I had designed them. There's like, I was actually playing with the signature cards today because I'm like, I really want to understand what it is they don't like. And there's like a heavy border that goes like halfway down the card around the bottom. It doesn't have any details on it or anything else. It's just like a gray bleh. And I'm like, I don't like the gray bleh. That's what it is.
The frame is really heavy.
Yeah.
It makes the power and health numbers look misaligned. Like they actually look like they're not a straight line across.
Yeah, and the one I was playing was I was playing Rogue. And there it is. I was playing Rogue, and so I was using the Scourged Ghoul, or whatever the ghoul guy is, with the death rattle. Infectious ghoul. And so he's got the death rattle symbol at the bottom, and that looks heckin' weird. So I was just like, this whole thing is just throwing me so off. But anyway, so I was like, I had not the greatest, like, signature cards in this set were not for me. They didn't really match my aesthetic. They weren't necessarily something I wanted to see in my game. So I was just kind of like, they're a cool idea, but maybe not this set. Like, I'm not going to focus on them. Maybe if there's a different style in another set, I'll pick them up then. And I'm like, but they seem to be addressing some like larger level of criticism that I'm not seeing. So I read the comments. Oh my God. There's so
That was a bad
many
idea.
comments. Yeah. And I mean, like, there are some very legitimate criticisms in those comments. Some of them were not that, but some of them were very legitimate. Like, one thing I didn't really notice until it was pointed out was that the cards are supposed to showcase the full art, but they still kept the name banner in the same place, which kind of, for every single card, covers off the middle of the art, and most of the important stuff is hidden by that banner, and you don't get to actually see it until you like put it in play. And then obviously you don't have all the banners on your minions. Like, you get to see bigger art when they're on the board. But I was like, oh, I hadn't noticed it till you said it, but now you've said it. It would look a lot better if it was like riding the top of the card or something, so that you are still showcasing the full art. So like, there were some criticisms in there, plus the idea that they can't be disenchanted, and if you know, they take up a slot of a legendary in your pack, you can't disenchant it. It's not a legendary you want to play. Now it feels like you've lost something because that could have rolled a legendary that you wanted. And then obviously there's just the aesthetic conversation in general. A lot of people really don't like them and would prefer to be able to say, I don't want the signature version, give me the golden or the regular version, even, like, just be able to convert them, like, go the other way. Because you can re-roll, if you have the plain copy, you can re-roll the plain copy, but you can't re-roll your signature. So like, there were some legitimate criticisms in there, I think, and it seemed like they heard most of those, and there's a really interesting conversation in this blue post.
Yeah, I want to like these more than I do, and I don't hate them. I think they're visually difficult to make out on the board, especially on mobile, especially when watching Twitch streams. The frame looks weird. But coming from a Magic the Gathering background, these cards look like really nice physical cards I want to hold in my hand. Right? It's just, there are physical things that look like they're jammed to a digital game that don't quite fit, and so they're gonna digitize them. But most important thing to me, they're admitting that it's not working. They're telling us they're gonna rework it. And for the people that were caught by gaps in the system, they're giving them what they deserve, which is free legendaries.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think I do want to give them props for changing a system that's not working. Although I will say this is very clearly designed to entice whales to spend a whole lot of money to get this whole entire set, right? Like, if the signature cards had hit, they wanted people to buy hundreds of packs to try to hit these, or to buy the they're not golden packs anymore, to buy the signature packs to get a higher chance of getting them. Like, they wanted people to sink money into this, and obviously people are not. So if this was I don't want to say cash grab, if this was a large money-making opportunity for them and it didn't work out, of course this is a system that they're going to revamp, because they want to figure out what the players are going to pay them tons of money for. So, I mean, it totally makes sense to me that they would listen to criticism and iterate on this, because this is a money-making venture for them. Like, these are not new cards. Well, like, they're new cards in that they're in the new set, but like, yeah. This is not mechanic. This is cosmetic.
It makes sense that they would invest effort in restoring consumer confidence in something they want people to consume.
There you go.
I get it, right? But also, we both wanted to like these more than we did because art is cool, and Hearthstone art is really good right now.
Well, and alternate art is something that we've been asking for since we started this show. Like, just the idea of like having a card, but being able to purchase a cosmetic that is the same card, but with new art. Like, that's something we asked for so many times. And we were like, well, what about if you did this thing for that? Or like, I really liked Well, the dragons was a big example we used to use, and having like one version be their like mortal form and then one version be their dragon form, like that would be so cool. So, you know, like alternate art, they're definitely in the right headspace in terms of like picking a thing that people are gonna like. They just haven't really delivered on it yet, unfortunately.
I want full art. No, wait, not like this. and there is definitely opportunity for them to improve it, and they recognize it. And, you know, I don't want to get too cynical and say, well, they did this because they weren't making enough money. But also,
I did
like,
that for you.
and I'm not saying that you're wrong, and I want to make sure I don't say that I think you're wrong and that you're probably not wrong. But also the way they went about making us feel smart by saying you were right the whole time, and also here's some free legendaries if we screwed you over. I wish they'd done it before.
It's a good response.
But it's a good response.
Yeah.
Yes. I am happy with the response, and I'm happy that they let Chad write it, because anything that he writes is good.
I did think that the conversation around the art specifically was really interesting, because they did talk about their kind of choice for their icy sepia tone, that it was kind of like the black and white but blue washed style. Didn't really like see, they were trying to hit the flavor of Lich King but kind of missed the mark a little bit. And one of the pieces of criticism that I actually think Garrett levied last week on the show as well is basically that like Hearthstone as a brand is super bright and colorful and fun, and I think the animations kind of fit into this part of the conversation too, where it's like when you strip out the animation and the color, you're kind of stripping out everything that makes Hearthstone. So why would we want these? So they did say in future sets they're not going to take the same sort of approach. We already knew signature cards were going to vary set by set anyways, but they've kind of committed to say like, okay, our next signature cards are going to be colorful and animated. We're going to thin out the frame on the board. You know, they're going to get the name out of the middle, which is one of the other things I said earlier. They're not planning on changing the current set signature cards, but future sets will be better, basically. And so I like that they did that. That first of all, they said, look, this is what signature cards are for now, and next time, like we've heard your criticism, next time they'll be different. But they are what they are now for people who like them, because there are people who like the style of the signature cards. So like they have now sunk a bunch of money in. The people who like signature cards have sunk their money in to buy these signature cards. They would probably be pretty upset if then, you know, things got changed. So I think this is probably the best opportunity, or like the best response they could have for now.
Yep.
All right. So
you're right.
You wanted to talk about a Cora interview. I didn't see it, so I am throwing it completely over to you.
Cora talked for a while. And also, all right, so there's this journalist named Cam Shea.
We love Cam here. We love Cam here.
Yes. So he wrote this article, and he is probably the journalist that spends the most time with the Hearthstone team, like for both of the new classes. He just went to the office he's Australian.
He's Australian,
yeah. He just flew to California and stayed there for a while and just talked to everybody, and like how did we do new class? So that guy, Cam, we love Cam. He had this really nice, candid interview with Cora, and she said it's one of her favorite interviews she's ever done because it was super off the cuff. She just talked to Cam, right? And we get the story of Cora, which I think is so tightly interwoven with Hearthstone. She's been a very visible face for a long time now, 5-6 years. As a caster,
longer than that.
And also,
I feel like.
Yeah, like a player, a caster, a designer. She's lead initial design now. Like, she's so interwoven with Hearthstone, and some people may not know this. Her content creation in Hearthstone started with the podcast Coin Concede, which is the podcast that I currently anchor, that I took over for her when Ngoro came out. Like, because she was too busy being famous and cool and awesome. And they were like, we need someone that's not famous or cool or awesome. And I was like, I'm available. I'm around.
Oh, Hat, you need to stop selling yourself short. Come on now.
Don't tell me that's not a good line. I've used that line before and it always gets laughs. So, and this, like in this interview, she just talks about that history of like being on that show and being an esports person and who she worked with and who she looked up to. And just, it's very human and really nice. And so I think it's just, we get to really see behind the curtain here. This is like, I'm going to count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. I opened it on my computer and pressed page down. It's 14 page downs on half the screen. Like, there's a lot here. So I don't know. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I love Cora. When I was working at DreamHack, like, she was a fantastic caster. Like, she's one of the people that, like, Cora you see is Cora you get always. Like, she's just so kind and so nice, and just like talking to her was as easy as you would think that it would be. And she's just so phenomenal. And I'm really glad that her kind of the trajectory of her career has been what it is, and that she's now working on the Hearthstone team, because I think she's amazing at what she do. She's been amazing at everything she's done in Hearthstone somehow. So, I mean, just good for her. Great interview. Thanks for sharing, Hat. I had missed that, so I'm going to go and read it after the show, and you guys all should too. If you want the link to that, it is over on IGN, but the link will be in our show notes. So World Championships are this weekend. We've kind of been tiptoeing around it / alluding to it for the last like 40 minutes now, but World Championships are this weekend, and there were some weird new rules for this World Championships, and it still didn't make a difference because and correct me if I'm wrong, Hat, Death Knights were unbannable. So, like, if you had a Death Knight in your lineup, your opponent couldn't ban it.
That is correct. And people had feelings about this ruling because it's the World Championships, right? So, like, there were... All right. I got a little soapbox. Joss, I'm sure I'm not saying anything that's going to surprise you.
Oh, no. And I'm sure I'm going to agree with every word, honestly, because I have a pretty good idea what you're going to say, so...
Okay. So people were saying esports is marketing. Obviously, yes, that's true. People were saying, I expect Blizzard to use the platform for marketing. It's the World Championships, and you're not requiring people to bring them. You're just saying people that do have a different lineup game to play than everybody else, right? It's not, because if you want to use esports as a marketing strategy, first of all, who is watching the World Championships of a game that they do not follow? What is the Venn diagram of people that tune into the World Championships that also are unaware of Death Knight existing? And even if that person exists, if they're in the middle, what are they going to absorb from that gameplay other than, I don't know what the fuck is going on? Like,
I knew I would agree with every word.
Like, it's because imagine you look at a stream. You haven't played Hearthstone in 6 months. You look at a stream, right? There's these weird looking like blue and gray border cards that don't move, that you don't know what they are. And then there's this new class. You're like, oh, is that Death Knight? And then the rogue plays 9,000 cards and the opponent blows up, and you're like, wait, what was the Death Knight doing? Like, is this advertising? It's not. There's nobody in that middle circle of the Venn diagram that you are successfully marketing to by doing this. If you do need to market to them, you need to guarantee each player bringing Death Knight. And if you are influencing that all players are bringing a class and not banning it, that is not the World Championships. That's called the show match.
Yes.
We did one of those already. You can do another one if you want, just not the World Championships. If it was live at BlizzCon and it was a bunch of streamers, then sure, whatever. But this halfway gesture, it seems like this is not confirmed. This is my headcanon. An executive told Abar, if you want financing next year, make sure people play Death Knight. Abar threw this rule in, and then the players said, whatever, none of us are bringing DK anyway.
Yeah.
So the rule didn't matter outside of undermining trust in the system for established players. But that is how, if I were the product manager of Hearthstone Esports and I needed to make sure I got my budget funded for next year, and executive said, I'll do it if you do this thing. Sure, okay, whatever. This is the rule that I can include that has the least impact on the tournament, even though it doesn't look great on paper.
Yep. I think you're probably bang on with that. And like you say, in the end, it didn't matter at all because we have what I think might be at least on par with the worst representation of classes we have ever had. And so technically, I think this looks like some of the worst tournaments we've ever had in terms of only having 6 classes represented. But now because we have 11 classes instead of 9 or 10, it's even worse, like percentage wise of number of classes that are represented. So we're getting very close to only 50% of the classes being represented in the World Championships, which is crazy bonkers bananas and not really good for, I think, the format. So we have 16 rogues and 16 priests, which priest wise, I have not seen very many priests. So this, I think, is where we're gonna like maybe potentially like we're gonna do a full meta chat in a minute, but like I think this is maybe my ladder experience versus high legend ladder experience, because like rogues, sure, yeah, I'm seeing lots of rogues. They're doing roguey things, all kinds of roguey things, but no priests. There's also 13 demon hunters, all quest demon hunters, so not even any variation in what is being brought in the class. Then we have 10 druids, and I think only 2 of those 10, maybe 3 of those 10 are aggro. The rest of them are doing rampy things. And then we have 5 mages and 4 paladins because those guys didn't get the druid demon hunter memo. So we are not seeing a whole lot of variation, and that makes me really sad.
So I will say the rogues and priests have a lot of variation within them, right? There are undead control priests, there are quest priests, there are boon blessed priests. And the rogues, there's Mine Rogue, Edwin Rogue, Concoction Rogue, Shark Rogue, Miracle Concoction Rogue, Thief Concoction Rogue, Pure Thief Rogue, Death Rattle Rogue. There's a lot, right? Because Rogue kind of has a
They have a
whole bunch of stuff.
lot of tools right now.
Yep. The Demon Hunter deck, this is just probably the best deck in the game, or one of them, but it's also really, really challenging to play. And the same goes with a lot of the rogue decks and with Blessed Priest in particular. And this is very much a snapshot of High Legend right now, is rogues, priests, and quest demon hunters. Very much a snapshot of that experience. There are other decks that people are like trying out, but if you want to win, you're playing one of those 3 things, most likely. And this experience is really narrow in terms of who has it right now, because if you talk to people outside of top 1K or so, this is not going to make any sense.
No, I looked at this list and I was like, they're doing what now?
Yeah, this does not match the experience of the vast majority of ladder players. And I would bet also a lot of ladder players are surprised that not everybody is bringing Druid. And in fact, Druid is only here for the lineups that are leaving up Quest Demon Hunter. Because Ramp Druid is a good counter to Quest Demon Hunter. There are some aggro Druid lineups, they're the ones banning the Demon Hunters because they cannot ever beat a boosted Unleash Fel ever. That matchup feels like unethical. Like you blow them out and go back to 30 for 4 mana, and then you draw like a million cards. So it's a strange looking world. I bet we'll see a lot of high level players making a lot of really intelligent decisions and getting to game states that most people have never seen, because these decks have a lot of skill advantages.
That to me is what the World Championships are about. And so like I'm glad that Abar found a solution to what we assume is some sort of high level budget executive thing. I'm glad he found an elegant solution, because to me, that's what I watch the World Championships for, even more so than like the fall championship or like the seasonal championships and like when they did GM week to week. Like what I watch the World Champions for are to see the absolute best 16 players in the world who have competed their way to this moment all year long do things that I would never even think of. Like, I mean, I want to see Hearthstone that I've never seen before, and that's what World Championships are. So I am so stoked for this weekend, even though it's, you know, got some pretty like small class representation. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to watch this go down. There's some huge names, and yeah, I'm so excited.
It's going to be some high quality Hearthstone. And you remember from last year, we were watching a lot of Garrote mirrors.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't want my life on ladder to be a lot of Garrote mirrors, but seeing the way these players navigated it was like, it was intense. Like, it was edge of my seat intense. It was really cool to see. But also then they nerfed the day after the tournament was over. And I would like if they did that again, please, Blizzard. I would like that. Please do that. Please nerf the day after this is over.
We will have to see. But yeah, so before we get into our meta chat, we are going to take a moment to spank. No, not to do that. To thank our sponsor.
To spank our honey.
To thank our sponsor, honey. Today's episode is sponsored by PayPal Honey, the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or computer. I love holiday shopping. Gift giving is one of my favorite things. What I don't love is trying to coordinate coupons and discount codes for all the different stores I need to shop at for the people in my life. Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Imagine that you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button appears and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons and wait a few seconds as Honey searches for the coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch the prices drop. I just found the perfect gift set for my soon-to-be sister-in-law from a fancy smelly soap shop she loves. Try to say that 10 times fast. I didn't think I was going to find a deal because it was already a holiday bundle, but Honey popped up with a coupon and saved me $10. I shop a lot at this time of year, so every bit of savings helps. You can save even more when you ask Honey to keep track of price drops on your holiday shopping list. If the price drops on anything on your list, you'll instantly get an alert to let you know. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting our show. I'll never recommend something I don't use, so get PayPal Honey for free at joinhoney.com/tac. That's joinhoney.com/TAC. We thank you for supporting the brands that support the Angry Chicken. All right, everybody, we did it, fam. That was the last ad read that we are ever going to have on the Angry Chicken. Hat and I, yes, shocking news. Hat and I decided that we didn't want to put ads in the show anymore. So instead, we're going to focus 100% on the Patreon. So one of the biggest perks we have on Patreon right now is that you do get your own ad-free feed. But now no one's going to get ads in the middle of tax. So we want you guys to tell us what you want instead. Patrons, you guys can look forward to a poll that's going up this week that's going to allow you to let us know anonymously what benefits you'd like to see and what changes you'd like to see for the TAC Patreon. So you can head on over to patreon.com/tac if you'd like to tell us how you would like to support the show. If you're not currently a TAC patron, you can either become a TAC patron at that link and vote on the poll, or if you would like to send us some suggestions over on Twitter, you can do that as well. You can send them to Hat, to me, to TAC Podcast, whatever you would like. But yeah, please do let us know what perks you would like if you were a TAC patron. We're going to talk about the meta now. And there's some stuff. And it's going to be, I think, a pretty interesting conversation, even more so than last week. Because last week, everyone was still trying to find their feet. And now, like Hat said, it's a very stratified meta. And things that people are seeing are totally different depending on where on the ladder you were playing. So the high legend meta is like completely different than things that are happening down below where I am. And actually, funny story, Kajitar, who is normally in the chat room when we do the shows live, I actually went up against him on ladder and he knew it was me because I think I'm the only person playing the Quest Druid Guff Anubricon deck. And so I like sent him a friend request and I was like, the Katatar? And he was like, I knew it was you. He's like, you're the only person on ladder playing this deck. And I'm like, but you liked my Guff high five, didn't you?
Who doesn't like a Guff high five?
Like
Don't
a
answer
Guff
that.
high five.
This is not a request for comments. That's not what I was.
But yeah, so I thought that was a really funny story, is that like I'm just playing in my own little Guff meta bubble.
Yeah. It's the format right now is, so if I look at HS Replay right now, I bet that if I look at Diamond 5 versus a Legend, it's going to be so different. Yeah. The most popular decks at Diamond 5 are Ramp Druid and Blood DK with Death Rattle Rogue in the third. The most popular decks at Legend are, if I look since the patch, are Death Rattle Rogue Quest DH, number 2, Ramp Druid, then Blood DK, Miracle Rogue. If I look at the tier list, top 1000 Legend, the top 10 decks in top 1000 Legend since the patch. Number 1, Blessed Priest by a large margin. Number 2, Aggro Druid. Number 3, Big Spell Mage. Number 4, Quest Demon Hunter. Thief Rogue, Death Rattle Rogue, Miracle Rogue, Quest Priest, Control Priest, Ping Mage. That's it. Everything else under 50%. If I look in the last few days, it's slightly different, but not that different. Whereas if I look at Diamond through Legend, Imp Warlock, Death Rattle Rogue, Evolve Shaman, Pure Paladin, Big Spell Mage, other Imp Warlock, Beast Hunter, Spell DH, Spooky Mage, then Blessed Priest at number 10.
See,
then
this
Control
is where
Priest, Aggro
I
Druid.
live. I live in this Diamond through Legend place that is just bananas.
And so it's really, really different. And of course, if we look at Bronze through Gold, Evolve Shaman, Imp Warlock, Death Rattle Rogue, Big Spell Mage, Pure Paladin, Beast Hunter, Spell Demon Hunter, Silver Hand Paladin, the list goes on. I will note, Ramp Druid is below 50% at, I think, every rank bracket except for Bronze through Gold. But otherwise, everywhere else I look, Ramp Druid is barely 50%, if not below. And it's only above at the very beginning of ladder. And it's still one of the decks that I hear the most discourse about. Though Death Rattle Rogue has started to pick up a lot, but people still have really strong Druid feelings.
Well, and I think the reason for those really strong Druid feelings, and at least the reason why I've been absolutely loving playing Druid, is because it feels like the way I'm playing Druid right now with the quest and trying to gain attack and then having this really big one-turn combo that's only made possible by Anubricon, who is the new card from Lich King. Like, I haven't played Druid that way, like, ever. And it's so freaking fun because I'm just sitting there hoping not to die, because all I'm doing, I'm not trying to ramp. I don't care. Like, I need those 8 turns to get to 8 mana in order to draw all the cards I need to put all my pieces together and to try to, finish my quest. So I don't want to ramp up. I can't do anything with a gajillion mana. My pounce costs 0. So like, I'm playing Druid in a way that I haven't ever played Druid before. But people playing Ramp Druid, it feels so the same. You are playing cards to get more mana. You are doing things that shouldn't be happening on the turns when they're happening. You're playing Scale of Onyxia into Scale of Onyxia again, because many whelps. So, people are just freaking sick of it, I think. And I understand, because like I haven't touched Druid in a really long time, not since Beast Druid was a thing, where, like the Beast Druid was more, again, not ramping. You were much more board focused and like mana cheating for sure, but
Stormwindish, like Frostwolf Matriarch sort of thing with Oracle of Elune.
Yeah, exactly. And then so you would be
Taunt Druid and all that.
You'd be playing out like 0 mana beasts and then combining them with Oracle to get multiple copies. Like, again, not the way that Ramp Druid plays at all. I don't find Ramp Druid to be particularly fun. So and especially with when one of their finishers was Denathrius, and after all of the scaling of all of the Onyxias, it very much, like, we've seen it before. We've seen so much of it. So I think that's where a lot of the discourse is happening. It's just like everyone is just freaking sick of playing Druid that way. It's not that it's necessarily
this particular
even overpowered.
type of Ramp Druid, this particular brand has been around since really like Alterac.
Yeah.
And it started to be good in Onyxia's Lair when they printed Scale. And then Core this year definitely like exacerbated that a little bit with Earthen Scales and Nourish going to 5. So, and it's important to note, Ramp Druid it was nerfed in Voyage at the beginning because it needed to be. It was nudged in Nathria. It has been under 50% win rate for a while. When it goes over, they pull it back under. It's also been one of the most popular decks in Standard. Not number one, but close to number one for a year, even when it's not winning, because clearly a lot of people do find it fun. If you see a deck a lot on ladder, for years now, it doesn't mean the deck is good. It means that people like what the deck is doing. This goes back to Ticketus Warlock. Ticketus Warlock never in its entire history was over 50% win rate outside of Bronze or Gold.
I feel like that's just always going to be on a pedestal. Like, you bring that example up all the time. It's like, remember Ticketus? He was awful. And you people still played him.
But this is not judging people. Just people do what they think is fun. Here's another example. Stormwind Quest Mage. After the first nudge to that deck, it was under 50% win rate. But it was 20% a ladder because people wanted to throw fireballs at their opponent and kill them with fireballs, because being a mage and killing your opponent with fireballs is cool as fuck.
It's iconic.
I get it. I understand. So people want to do it. Cool. I understand. So if you're tired of facing Ramp with Bran, which a lot of people are, you're not alone in these feelings, listener. You're not wrong for feeling that way, but recognize the reason people keep doing it, even though they're probably losing more than they're winning, is because they find it fun. And that's also probably the reason why these strategies aren't completely deleted, because a lot of people are playing them, and if you want to beat them, you can. Doesn't mean you have to enjoy it. Just to give some understanding as to why these things are still in the game and why you keep seeing them, is because people want to do it.
That face.
I don't expect but at a certain point, enough is enough. And people are dying from 64 a lot. Like, it's happening a lot. How many times do you see Astalor OTK? I imagine a good bit.
Yeah. I would say that, like, it's become even worse than an offender of a finisher than Denathrius. Like, as much as he's from the old set, so obviously, did get changed quite quickly, but Astalor, there's just so many ways now to make multiple copies of him, to take advantage of the effect and just blow people out. And yeah, like, there are a lot of very big damage OTKs out of him. So I don't know, I'm kind of confused, I think, in the way, like, I understand on paper why his battle cry works the way it works with, like, Bran and Mana Thirst, but, like, I kind of wish that was not that way. That, like, because there's other Mana Thirst things that don't get doubled, right? But because it says, oh, what is it? Instead,
instead is the magic word, and they are going to change his wording to match his current functionality. They did clarify that this was, like, confusing. The way it was implemented as a replacement effect. So replacement effect means you take the original thing you were going to do and you change that thing. Yeah. It's not, I bring along my other thing, which is what doesn't get doubled. Mana Thirst is bring along this other thing that does not get doubled. This is change the original. Yeah. Because what Bran does, he doubles battle cries, and what replacement effects do, if they say the word instead, that's the magic word. Or right now, Astalor says more. That's ambiguous, so it's going to say deal 16 instead is what they're going to change it to. Instead says, no, before Bran sees it, let's double it a little bit. Let's just double it up. And then Bran sees us like, well, this says 16, and I'm going to do that twice. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. I mean, I am not a game designer. I do not have a solution here. What I do want to happen is for people to not frequently die from 64. So
that's
I hope they
a
find some way to do
lot.
that.
That is like, I mean, when you're talking about ramping up armor or health with blood decays or like 64, there's not a whole lot of games, even with Renathal in the format, starting you at 40. There's not a whole lot of games where I'm sitting on over 60 health. Like maybe 50, maybe, but like, yeah, that's a large ask for that to not be an OTK. And there's only a few classes that could potentially do that. So, I mean, like, could potentially prevent that, I mean.
Now, I will say, there was a game I had recently where my opponent did 64 pings, and I immediately said, okay, kill you, when they passed the turn. Because I was playing Death Rattle Rogue, and I had 7 infectious ghouls that kept spitting out more infectious ghouls. And so they just soaked up all the pings for me. And my opponent spent all their armor dealing 64 damage because they thought that would be enough. Haha, idiot. And then
someone didn't read their death rattles.
And then I attacked for 35.
There you go.
You know,
so
it's
just
a high-powered
play
format. I mean, you can. It's
be
a
fair,
high-powered format.
am.
This is... Yeah. So wait, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you were. You said that earlier in the episode, and I had to do a double take. Tell me about your rogue experiences.
Well, I've just been playing Death Rattle Rogue because I feel like it's the kind of rogue I can get behind. So it appeals to me in that you're kind of like, you're playing minions, you're playing board things, you're being a little cheaty because you're like drawing out stuff from your deck, and then, you know, it's costing 1 mana, and that feels like you're cheating, and so therefore you're a rogue, and that's correct. But it doesn't do crazy things. I'm not playing 18 cards in a turn. So, and I mean, I obviously have never been my opponent, but I feel like the things...
That's not true. I've heard your conversations with yourself. You frequently are internally self-opposing.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the things that I'm doing are more fair because I'm doing them, and I know I'm not a crazy good rogue player, so normally when I face rogues and they do 800 things and then I die, I'm like, that felt very unfair and I don't understand what happened to me. I feel like my opponents are always going to understand what happened to them. Their fairness level may vary, but at least they will always understand. And that's like the signature of a Joce rogue deck. It's where like nothing super crazy complicated and tricksy, just, you know, pretty straightforward. And I feel like Death Rattle Rogue is that, and I've actually been having a lot of fun, and I do enjoy the ghouls spitting on each other and making more.
Yes. It's like Death Rattle Rogue, it's accessible, it's fun, and also after playing it for a couple games, you're like, I probably shouldn't be allowed to do this, huh? Probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't let me do that.
It feels like that sometimes. Like, I'm just like, my board is never ending. The only thing I said, I hadn't been facing a lot of priest. I did face one priest with double whirlpooled me, and I was just, and like, I went through my whole entire deck and I got them down to 2 health, and then they were able to recover. But still, like, Whirlpool deletes copies of things anywhere they are, and they did that to me twice. And I still had more stuff to do. So I mean, like, yeah, I would feel like that would be the counter. And yeah, it still was almost not enough. So, and probably if I had been better at piloting the deck, then they would have been dead. Because that was like my third game, I think. Chat room right now is asking for the Death Rattle Rogue deck. It's literally Death Rattle Rogue as seen on HS Replay. Like, I have done nothing special. I literally looked at HS Replay and went, everyone's talking about Rogue, I should probably play a Rogue. Ooh, Death Rattle. Literally my thought process.
And the Vicious Syndicate report came out today. Check out all the decks that are in there. The one that I've been playing doesn't play the Infectious Ghouls at this point. It plays, it's the Colossal version. So I like the Ghouls, but there's a different version where your minions are 2 of the 4/4s, the Scourge Illusionist, 2 of the Masked Revelers, the 4/4 Rush that when it dies you get a 2/2 copy of a minion in your deck, Invincible, Krakatoa, and Neptulon. So what happens is when you have Graveyard down, Graveyard doubles your Death Rattles. you will sketchy into an illusionist, which pulls a Death Rattle minion out of your deck and makes it cost 4 less for a 4/4 copy. So you're pulling out the Invincible or the Masked Reveler. Then you play the Masked Reveler and you pop it, and it goes to get a 2/2 of minions left in your deck. It can't get the other Masked Reveler. You've already hit Scourge Illusionist twice, so you've drawn both of them. So that means it will hit either Krakatoa, which you double, or Neptulon, which you double. So yesterday against a Paladin, I had 2/2 Neptulons in play on turn 5.
That doesn't seem fair.
I beat them. They died.
Damn it, Hat. I was just talking about how Death Rattle felt a little more fair, and at least I understand what's happening. And then you're like, oh, but Joss, here's the actual rogue shit that you're totally missing because you're real dumb and you just take stuff right off the top of HS Replay.
Stop projecting onto me. Do not make me responsible for your inner monologue. I have been trying to fight that. So it's the Infectious Ghoul build. It will totally grind people out. Absolutely can do that. It can soak Astlor Pinks. It can kill people. But it's, sometimes you get Silence Whirlpooled or whatever, and then you're out of stuff. So it's just a question of, do you want to go faster or slower? Do you want to play more burn? Or do you want to play like a specific pop-off combo? And I think they're both good ways to go. It is a more accessible rogue deck, and I like that a lot. Just, it's a little too fast right now, and it's a little too hard to deal with. So I would be surprised if they didn't fix that a little bit.
That's fair. What do you think about Shaman? A lot of people in chat room have been talking about evolving things. I haven't seen very much Shaman. I've seen a lot of Paladin, but not a lot of Shaman. So have you? Well, you probably haven't because you're in the upper echelons of Priest Roguestone. But I'm not top 1K right now. I'm pushing towards it, but I am at the top 2K bracket, which is people that used to be in top 1K and wanted to play fun stuff. And so we're all just hanging out here and just waiting for the rest of that to figure itself out. So I'm just waiting for that to deal with it, but I'm playing a lot of stuff. If you look at the classes right now, High Legend, Demon Hunter with both mostly Quest. Spellfell Rel is a good deck, but the Quest deck, the amount of damage it can put out is unbelievable and very fast. Boon or Blessed Priest, and any number of rogues. Death Rattle is one of them. There are Miracle builds too. I think Miracle is actually a little overrated, but people really like playing it, and it feels gross when it wins. There are a lot of other classes that have things you can do and can win with that just aren't getting the same kind of marketing. Druid is talked about a lot, but it doesn't perform super well in High Legend right now. The other three are performing well in High Legend. But then, I've been killing people with Paladins. I sent you the Paladin deck, the Pure Paladin deck, where there's a really clever build that Hunter Race originated where you use Order in the Court in a Pure Paladin deck, where the top end is Light Ray, Countess, Blood Crusader, the new 6-mana 5/5, where you the next Paladin you minion you play costs you life instead of health. So the goal here is to Order in the Court on turn 3, turn 2 in the coin if your hand is good enough, and then whenever you have 6 mana, you play Blood Crusader Countess, and then a couple Light Rays to go with it, and you have this crazy huge swing turn. And also, you happen to be a deck with a lot of Divine Shields. You're good against damage-based removal. You're really good against Demon Hunters because you get all these little bubbles. It's quite fun. I was unable to win with it. But Hat keeps telling me
3 games.
that this mythical thing, that's true. I got through my Paladin quest and went, oh, this sucks. And then moved on to Rogue, of all things.
Hey, it's a fun Rogue deck. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, there are people in chat talking about Shaman. Evolve Shaman. Good deck. We see it in the stats that it's a good deck. If you go to Diamond through Legend, last 3 days, it is the number 3 deck.
Mm-hmm.
But who's talking about it besides our chat, who are smart and handsome? It's like the popularity in the last 3 days of Evolve Shaman. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Keanu. Evolve Shaman is less than 2% of the meta. It is the number 3 deck, last 3 days, Diamond through Legend. Imp Warlock, 3.25% of the meta. Number 1. Actual number 1.
Which is kind of wild. I don't ever remember the best decks, and they're not necessarily super tricksy decks either. Like we've seen sometimes like the best decks have low play rates just because they're really hard to pilot and people are afraid of losing. So
Naga
like,
Priest.
yeah, Naga Priest is a really good example. Not a lot of people played that deck because it was really complicated when it first came out, and not a lot of people really knew how to pilot it properly. But then, like, when you're talking about Evolve Shaman, that's not a new archetype. Same with Imp Warlock, not new. So people know how to do it, but they're doing other things instead. It's crazy. I feel like normally we should be looking at like 5 to 10% of the meta for the best deck in the format at that rank.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that I clarify something I think is really important. This year, the 3 sets have felt like they've had pretty even power levels in what they're bringing to the table. And I think it's pretty unusual in a good way that for each expansion launch, you can keep playing the deck you had built for the previous expansion for basically the entire set, and you will probably do fine, with the possible exception of adding free cards that they give you, free legendaries. They give you, you can add in Okani or Renathal or Denathrius or whatever, but they're all free.
Mm-hmm.
But you can play these decks, they remain competitive, and the new set doesn't necessarily power creep the old stuff, either in a class or total. A lot of the really good decks right now are from the last expansion, but also there are really good decks from this expansion, and that's been true basically the entire year. There's some Voyage decks that didn't make it, right? Sure, 4 set versus 6 set.
I was gonna say, yeah,
but a
that's
lot
still,
of the
4 set, yeah.
But a lot of the good Nathria decks are still good, and you can still play decks from each self-contained expansion and be competitive, and we end up with a lot of viable options. Now, if you look at the really, really high level, obviously that's going to be a narrower field because high level always is. But Boon Priest has 1 new card. Just has Animate Dead. Everything else, the other 28 cards from the previous sets. Right? Miracle Rogue is mostly Nathria cards. Death Rattle Rogue, that's more, it's a combination of the new stuff, the old stuff, but Sketchy and Snowfall Graveyard are from Alterac.
Yeah. Which Alterac has been forever ago now. Well, I could say a year, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a while. I'm pretty impressed with how they were able to smooth out the power levels and still have the expansions feel pretty different. But that doesn't mean that we don't want things to change. And while I'm having a good time with this format and trying a bunch of different things, first of all, we haven't talked about Death Knight yet, which is probably a bad sign.
Yeah. Even as you're like listing top 10 decks at every level, and they were all different. I think you mentioned Blood DK one time. And yeah.
Blood DK in the popularity graph. People want it to be good. Okay.
Want to play it, yeah. But yeah, DK, I mean, I said off the top when we were talking about events that I have been either re-rolling or avoiding the DK specific event quest because I'm just like, I really don't want to play it. Like, it feels that underpowered, and I'm really glad we are not looking at a second Demon Hunter, but I'm a little bit disappointed in how low the power level is because the design is so freaking cool. Like, I love the rune system. I love the idea of them getting like a build and spend mechanic in corpses. Like, I think the design space of the class is really interesting. I'm just a little underwhelmed at the power level, but they are walking such a fine line between like no DKs and DKs everywhere. Like, I am not sure what you tweak, but I'm worried if they get if they overcompensate, and then we do have to make it through the next few months with a new Demon Hunter.
Yeah. I think the rune system does a lot of really good work for them. And I will say the runes, I've been pretty impressed by the execution there. Mm-hmm. I think the systems mostly get out of the way and they just make it easy for you to comply and without making you do a bunch of work. And it is an interesting, compelling deck building challenge. I will also note, if I look closely at these win rate charts over the last 3 days, Frosty K is almost there. It is 49.9% at Legend. 49% win rate, Diamond through Legend.
That is the one archetype I haven't tried. I tried Unholy day 1, and that just crushed my spirit. And then I tried Blood, and yeah, that was kind of okay. I tried Blood basically just to do the quests in the event, and then I had it like a kind of okay, but mostly not great experience playing Blood. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do something else that just works.
Yeah, Blood. The games take forever. Like. It's
well, that's
whatever.
The thing.
But,
I think I had like a 25-minute game, and I was like, I'm not here for this. I'm gonna go play Battlegrounds if I want to play that much Hearthstone.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But if you look at the Frosty K builds on HS Replay over the last few days, there are a number of them well over 50% win rate. There's something here, right?
Yeah.
But it can be a little better. It can be a little better. And Unholy, as you said, just has not landed at all.
Yeah.
People are barely even trying, and when they are, it's not really working. There are some aggro builds that are medium.
I was trying, and I felt like it had some potential. And at first, I thought that I was just running up against like direct counters to what I was trying to do. And then I was like,
you kind of were, because you're running against Hearthstone decks.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then I was like, but wait. Everyone can counter what I want to do. So every single time I queue a match, I'm queuing into the counter of my deck. Unfortunate. I want it to work, though. It was in theory crafting. It was the most fun that I had with DK, was just that like floody style. Like they have some cool freaking cards, but yeah, it's just, I guess, not quite there yet, which is too bad.
Well, like, it's interesting that Demon Hunter felt like a 6-set class and a 4-set meta, and DK kind of feels like a 4-set class and a 6-set meta. It has a lot of really interesting general purpose cards, but there's not as much crazy synergy to kill people with outside of, you can have some banger frost turns like that feel pretty good. But Blood DK is just trying to do the Control Warrior thing, and like, it's okay. But Control Warrior isn't very good right now either, so I don't know why this would be a better version of it. There are a couple of like standout cards, but the class itself just doesn't do anything that really aligns well with what the format's about at the moment. So I expect the format to change what it's about.
Yep.
Either before or after Christmas, where I think it'll mostly be pulling stuff back so DK feels in line. But I would imagine that they will still have to buff a couple things here and there. I have no idea what they do.
We might see some buffs as well. Like that, I don't think that that's off the table. The team has buffed a lot of things in the past. So, I mean, at one point in time, the Hearthstone team wouldn't buff a thing, but this is not that team. So, yeah, I think buffs are definitely on the table. Nerfs are on the table. Everything's on the table. The Christmas table. I don't even know. It's coming at some point.
Is that a thing?
Around the holiday.
I'm Jewish. I don't know. You're going to have to explain.
I don't know. Like,
you have a table. You bring it every year for Christmas?
Well, I mean, you got to at least put the leaves in. No?
So you don't just keep them there all year because you don't want to deal with it?
Well, we have a giant table anyways because we have a gaming table. So our table's 5x7 every day. But still.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for us this week. If you did want to send in emails, I promise at some point we're going to get to an episode where we don't have a gajillion things to cover and we will take your emails. But you can send those over to thcpodcast@gmail.com, tag us over on Twitter, or send us messages over in the patron Discord. Also, reminder to our epic patrons at patreon.com/tack. First of all, thank you. But also, do go over and check out the Patreon page. We're going to put a poll up there to find out what perks you guys want for being TAC patrons. As we mentioned earlier on in the show, we are going completely ad-free for everyone starting in the new year. So, yeah, we want to know what you guys want as Patreon perks. Please do let us know. Even if you aren't a TAC patron, you can hit us up over on one of our other methods in order to let us know what would make you become a TAC patron if you aren't already. Very big thank you to our Patreon producers, Dustin C. and Jarrett F. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. You can follow us over on Twitter at TAC Podcast and catch us live normally Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern here on twitch.tv/Joce Plays. Hat, where can folks find you?
The hub of my content is over at twitter.com/ridiculoushat, so that is the best place to keep up with my various goings on. I have 2 other Hearthstone podcasts for some reason. Coin Concede, Cora started that show. You can find that over at coinconceit.com. We make the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. And then Vicious Syndicate, we take a data-driven look at the high-level Legend metagame over at vicioussyndicate.com. The classes that we talked about at Worlds, you're going to hear a lot about that over on the Vicious Syndicate podcast. Joss, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays. Do check out Twitch this Friday, which is tomorrow, because today is Thursday, because we're recording on a weird day, and I keep forgetting what day of the week it is. But tomorrow, we are going to be streaming our holiday party for Sea of Thieves. We've got a couple of guests coming on with Ryan and I. We're going to play Sea of Thieves all night for Extra Life. We are going to be doing, or I'm going to be doing some more Sea of Thieves streams, because they also did enable drops for all Sea of Thieves streamers. So I'm going to do probably one stream per set of drops from now until the end of the year, so that first of all, you guys can get all the cool, like, frosty, wintry clothing in Sea of Thieves, but also we can support a great cause and get some more eyeballs on the Extra Life campaign. I think I'm about halfway to my goal. I've been not as able to stream as I normally am in this time of year. It's been a crazy couple of months. So if you can, please do go to bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2022 and donate, or at least spread the word, and come and hang out tomorrow night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here, twitch.tv/JossPlays. We're going to play some Sea of Thieves. We've got some great guests. And then, I'm going to be streaming a few more times before the new year. So the campaign is open till December 31st. We do appreciate everyone who has supported so far. Hat, do you have something else to say? Because you're giving me frowny face.
So Sea of Thieves, a pirate game, right?
Yes, it is.
So do those qualify as booty drops?
They do now. I'm going to have to make a button.
I wanted to say that while we were on the air.
Yeah, just to make sure there's a record.
Come by twitch.tv/JossPlays for booty drops on Friday night.
Drops. Yeah. Oh, God. You're going to get me in TOS trouble here, Hat.
It's fine. We're demonetizing anyway.
All right, guys, that does it for the Angry Chicken this week. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
And you have a hard out time of 7 o'clock, and we are 4 minutes shy of that. So no after show this week, you guys. Sorry, Hat has to go do 1,800 other. I was going to say Angry Chicken podcast, Hearthstone podcast. So yeah, we have to let him go. So that's it for the stream, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Come back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Come and hang out with us while we get into shenanigans on Sea of Thieves.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.